Joining me today is Jamault. She went from a workaholic to a Ayurvedic practitioner, and she shares her journey with us. She will also be explaining Ayurvedic principles and explain why finding a balance is really the key for us to live our lives to the fullest. Stay tuned. Joining me today is Jamault, founder and lead therapist at Hridayam. She is a health coach, a massage therapist, including certified in Ayurvedic massage. She's a yoga instructor and also a web designer. Did I get it all?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So you integrate Ayurveda, functional bodywork, and coaching to support somebody in reversing the damaging impacts of stress. How did you come to get to know Ayurveda, and when did you begin to practice?
Okay, so, well, my main focus is the nervous system, and actually these all, I would not say started with a burnout, because I was already interested before in alternative medicine and like using that for myself since childhood. But what honestly brought me to dive deep into that was a burnout from being overworked and like basically work addiction, 14 hours in front of a computer, 7 days a week, working with big companies and agencies and in a corporate world, and also frequent movings. It was a period where I like changed country twice in 2 years and had in 2 years to learn 2 languages too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So at one point, just I felt that my body was collapsing.
Okay.
And I moved from my country, Brazil, to France, and the climate was very different. So also that was affecting me, like the thermic changes from outside and inside, and all those things, like and really the overwhelm of information. Yeah. So one of the doctors that I went to see wanted to put me on Prozac, and I like, no, I know this is not a depression. Something else is going on. I know that something is not right.
Yeah.
But I need a solution that would be a permanent solution. I don't want to be depending on any medication, like long-term medication. And this was 2003.
Okay.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
So I went to see a naturopath who actually helped me and guided me with diet changes, and I never had symptoms anymore for.
Wow. Okay.
So
at the same time, did you also quit that rigorous schedule of working 14 hours a day?
Yes, I quitted my job and went back to work as a freelancer.
Okay.
And yeah, I slowed down and felt that, a change was needed. So also, not too long later, I got pregnant of my daughter. We moved right after her birth to Ecuador for 2 years.
Wow.
And in that period is where I really started studying Ayurveda. I used to like joke that my daughter came with my first Ayurveda book.
Oh, wow.
Manual.
Yeah.
But she was somehow the first person that I could treat and see results. She used to have a lot of bronchial conditions, like chronic bronchitis, right? And the doctors were like, oh, she's probably asthmatic. And I'm like, oh, I don't want that label either. Let me see what we can do here. And through one of the books and from a doctor that I really, really appreciate and that I follow, his name is John Duyard. He has a very good book for moms. And I learned how to use a set of herbs that helped me to see on the first symptoms when she was just to slightly start to wheeze, like how to reverse.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the power of Ayurveda. If you are attuned in the signs, you can just reverse things before they even manifest as a problem. Right?
Yeah. So you started Ayurveda as you had your daughter. We're really getting into Ayurveda anyway, as you had your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So for those of us who don't know what Ayurveda is, can you explain that to us?
So basically, Ayurveda is the oldest and the most ancient system of medicine known to humankind. So it dates for like about 5,000 years, and it's been passing through generations, and it's pretty much the mother of all other medicine traditions, right?
So it even dates back past, it was before the Chinese
Yes,
medicine?
yes. Some people say Chinese medicine generates from Ayurveda.
Ayurveda,
Right?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting because Ayurveda considers the whole person, like the person as a whole, as unique, and it's a system that will focus on prevention, and a lot of it is based on the nervous system and the lymphatic system. Most of the treatments will address deeply those systems, which are systems that we started to learn more about in Western medicine recently, because we didn't have the technology or the conditions to deeply study those systems.
Yeah.
Right? We're much more on the mechanic part of the body.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, so those who practice Ayurveda consider every person is made up of 5 elements found in the universe: space, air, fire, water, and earth. And these combine in the human body to form the 3 life forces of energies called dosha. Can you explain what the doshas are so that everybody can understand how Ayurveda works?
The first thing for us to think is not that doshas build up our bodies only. The doshas is what builds everything in nature, every living thing in nature, right?
Everything in nature, according to
Everything in
Ayurveda,
nature.
is
You
built
can
by.
see that in all animals or all plants, and even the planet Earth as a body itself.
Okay.
And you start to consider, for example, how does a hurricane generate? Those are the water and the wind elements trying to bring balance to the fire element that rise up in summer.
Okay.
So our body functions the same way. So if you start to raise inflammation, there will be a lot of imbalances that will be generated in the body that will start to create those kind of movements and bringing imbalance and weakness to certain spots in the body. And that's what we will try to do, is to bring all that to balance again.
So an inflammation would be considered a fire element?
Fire imbalance.
A fire imbalance. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Awesome. So right now we're all worried about COVID-19, about how we can protect ourselves and boost our immune system. Do you have any recommendations for what we can do?
Sure. So what is immunity, right? Immunity is when our body is ready to face any kind of external element that is coming to aggress, and you have to protect, right? So some people will say, oh, you have to balance your diet, but it's not only that. The health, like perfect wellness, is a balance not only on a physical level, and in the physical level you could consider a triangle, right? It's like you see, it's like a stool with 3 legs, right? We have the food, the movement, and the relaxation. If you take one of these, that thing cannot
Okay.
stay.
I like that. The stool with the 3 legs.
So this is on a physical plane.
Okay.
And on top of it, we have to be able to cope well with our emotions, and also with our mental vibrations, right? With the frequency that we're bringing to our mindset. So raise that. We can do that through meditation. We can do that to the kind of food that we eat, because it does affect the mind. And rest is very important also.
Okay.
I think movement we definitely need. So to answer your question, how do we make our immune system strong, is by balancing all these three legs of to support and to create that stability that the body will be able to face the stressors.
Okay. Awesome. Is there anything that you recommend? I've heard some of your podcasts when you recommend, for example, golden milk, or is there anything that you recommend or anything that we could add to our diet that could help boost our immunity as well?
Yes, in Ayurveda we don't have a one size fits all, right? Like answer. And I used to play with people like the answer for everything. There is no like right and wrong. It depends. It depends on your body. It depends on the season. It depends on the environment
And
around.
I think that's what's maybe wrong with us, is that we want like a one-stop shop. Yeah.
Exactly. We want a quick fix and the right answer for that, right? So I would say there are some herbs that can really help. Like right now, I would say turmeric is one, and tulsi, which is a plant that also helps with regulating cortisol levels. It protects the lungs. So those would be very interesting. But the most we discover also more about the COVID, we are seeing that it's not a respiratory infection only. It can affect any part of the body. And the way I am seeing it is more like, and we've been hearing other doctors saying about that too, that is more like a systemic condition that actually affects not the respiratory system, but the blood.
Yes, with the blood clotting, yes.
Exactly. So what happens is that the way that the oxygenation should bond with the red blood cells, it gets imbalanced and doesn't respond the same way. So that's also why for different people, it will affect a different organ. It depends on where your dosha is imbalanced.
I see. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So it's extra important right now that we
know ourselves. Yeah. So the ways we have to protect ourselves, like diffuse certain essential oils in your house, and those all oils that are like a forest kind of scents. Frankincense is another one. Eucalyptus is another one. Tea tree is another one. So all this like in the air, because those will help with cleaning the body, the air. Sorry. And some herbs you can gargle salt with turmeric, for example. You can also use some compounds that we have in Ayurveda. I can send you a few options later, but it's really like there is no one answer for this. We really have to learn how to use our home pharmacy, keep ginger and lemon, like lime, around, and drink lime juice in the morning, make teas during your, sorry for that, there's a bit of my, drinking warm water through the day, maintaining your lymph system, really cleaning and flowing, and that only happens through certain spices and movement.
Okay. And
massage is very good for that too.
Massage is
very good.
You mentioned some spices. What spices do you recommend?
We use a lot in Ayurveda a tea called CCF, and which stands for coriander, cumin, and fennel. And the mix of these three seeds is really good for cleansing the body. Okay. So it helps the body to get rid of the debris, and then if it's clean, it's also functioning better. If it's functioning better, your immunity is stronger, right? It keeps that what we call in Ayurveda Agni, your digestive fire also balanced, so you can really burn the stuff that comes from outside, and the body, you know, is our first barrier of protection. So
yeah, because we learned in the last few years that our digestive system is much more important than we had previously understood, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And now we are understanding the importance of nutrition and how the food affect our health and lifestyle. So that's all about this lifestyle changes that we are trying to put in place. And now is a great time for this. First, because of the pause in quarantine, we have a great opportunity actually to redesign our actions, the way we do, what we prioritize, and you know, and this is a very good time for that.
Yes, it is. I recently started drinking the CCF tea, so I'm glad you mentioned that. For me, you introduced me to Ayurveda, and I feel like the more I know, the more I realize I don't know anything. And
welcome to Ayurveda. Exactly this.
On the internet, there's so much information. Much of it is in Sanskrit. I don't know what any of it means. And of course, there's a lot of products and advertisements. What do you recommend for somebody who's interested in looking into Ayurveda? What is a reliable source of information, and where do we start?
Okay. First, I would say avoid everything that shows you a quick fix solution. There's nothing like that in Ayurveda, right? So if someone is telling, oh, you have this as a miracle solution for that, then I got, oh, that's not the good source, right? So I can tell you a few of my teachers who I love studying from, and with some of them working with. So it's just really nice. One is John Doyard. I mentioned him earlier for the books on the kids. He has a company called Life Spa in Colorado. And I've learned a lot from him in the last 10 years. Really a lot. And it's also Western, so he can really translate to our way of thinking and understanding. So it's a beautiful introduction before you really get to someone that will teach half of the class in Sanskrit and connecting Ayurveda and Vedanta and all the other stuff, then yoga, and then the stuff that comes together, right? The whole package. But then John Doyard is a good step, a good place to start. Claudia Welsh is also a great teacher. She's mostly work with women, and she has a book on hormones that it's amazing.
Wow, okay.
Then who else? David Crow, I love working with their products. They have a company called Floracopia, and he works with Chinese medicine, is an herbalist that has a wonderful knowledge. It's really beautiful. His work is amazing. He knows a lot about Ayurveda too. So
that's David Crow.
Yeah.
Floracopia.
Floracopia. They all have many courses online that you can do at home. I studied through them for now over 10 years, and it's really beautiful. For the ones more interested in aromatherapy, Jade Schutz is someone to look for also for her work. Vasant Lad, which is one of my most revered teachers, and he's in New Mexico. I've been there a few times to study through him. Yeah, and Acharya Shunya, but then diving deeper on the Sanskrit part, on the Bhagavad Gita and all that more deep and mindful and connected with the lineages and the deep studies of Ayurveda that came through generations, right?
Okay.
So if you want to better understand, I would say for people, don't get stuck on just understanding the doshas and figuring out your the diet for your dosha. Doesn't mean if you eat that diet for your whole life, you know, that's not how Ayurveda works. You need to understand the seasons. You need to understand your agni. So it's much more than just figuring out your dosha and taking the herb for that dosha, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so it's
It's
a
a
lot
deep
more layered
connection.
than even I
It's
understood.
a deep connection with nature's laws and nature's
Yeah.
biorhythms.
Yes.
You know, it's the circadian cycle
Okay.
and the seasonal cycle.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Wow. So you've talked a lot about, or you've introduced us to a lot of things that I'm certainly really interested in, to getting to know more and dig deeper on. But so the podcast that I heard, you know, you really went into, you know, different herbs and spices and everything, and how to use them. I know we don't have time to go through that today, so hopefully I keep asking you to please make your own YouTube channel so I can start following you and start getting some recipes and understanding how to use some of these herbs. If you could, you know, teach us one thing that we could take away today, or if there's one herb that really has really been a game changer for you that we should look into and start using in our kitchen, what would that be?
This is a very difficult question, right? Because it's like
Or top three. Top three.
you're in front of a beautiful garden and you can just pick one flower.
Yeah.
It's hard because they all have their own magic and they represent a piece of the consciousness of the world, and each person has an affinity to a set of plants too, because of the way that we vibrate, the way the plant vibrates, and you know, it's I can tell you one that I'm in love right now because I just planted in my house and I'm experiencing the plant closer and having the teas in my apothecary now, which is Tulsi. And Tulsi has that affinity to the lungs. It's very good to balance cortisol levels, and I mentioned that before, but it's also a plant that connects the physical and more like a spiritual plant, and that bridge. So it's a very interesting plant, and
Okay.
it's beautiful. The flowers are beautiful. Tulsi is holy basil. And
Okay.
it's a plant that should be planted on the east side of your house. There is a lot to it, you know. It's and you know, I don't think it's the plant that will bring the answers. But if I would say what is the tool that helped me the most in Ayurveda, I would say meditation for sure.
Okay.
Um,
So when I think of Ayurveda, you know, I think more of, you know, the herbs, but you're saying that it actually has a lot to do with also your physical activity
oh yes, yeah.
and your mental state.
Your mental state and your emotional state, you know, is very holistic. It's profound. It's really like it takes everything, and the systems within the families. It's a very beautiful view of life.
Wow. Great. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I think we only just scratched the surface. So I hope we get to do this again someday and kind of dig a little deeper. And again, I will be including some of the names that you recommended as far as, you know, books and other Ayurvedic, how would you say, practitioners that we could follow in the links. So if anybody is interested, they can dig a little deeper. Thank you, Carol. And
Thank you
I
very
hope
much.
we get to do this again sometime soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. Please like and subscribe if you like what you saw today, and I hope to see you on the next one.